Welcome to Baptized&Clueless. I'm your host, you,
And I'm your host, Wes.
a podcast where we unravel the misconceptions that can make your spiritual journey feel overwhelming.
We know that stumbling and falling are a part of the process, and we're here to embrace that vulnerability together.
Let's get the show started. Thank you everyone for joining us here once again on Baptized&Clueless. Today we have a brother of ours, Ryan, who is part of, as you guessed it, our two groups that we've been a part of for a while now. So we've known Ryan over the last year or 2 years, and we've gotten to know his story. But I'd really like to have everyone hear his story. So Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know where you're at right now and how it all started for you.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, guys. Um, I'm Ryan. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska. Recently just moved to Sioux City, Nebraska, about an hour and a half north, about 3 months ago. I am currently a teacher. This will be my 12th year of teaching. In my current state right now, I actually have a lot of peace.
Oh,
I've been
nice.
through an interesting journey since I was saved back February uh, 6th, 2006. I was in grad school. I went to church with some friends of mine. I actually kind of didn't want to go. I've always believed in God. I went to church when I was a kid.
Right.
Um, I was the first one to get saved in my family. My aunt is now saved, and my mom recently was saved a few weeks ago.
Woo, woo,
So,
woo.
Congratulations, congratulations. So your
yeah,
family
it's
was church going? Your family was church going, but no one was saved yet. Is that correct?
correct,
Oh wow.
correct.
Okay.
Um, so I've, believed in God and prayed, and I did sports in high school. So I always prayed before I ran. I always gave grace before I ate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, didn't really understand all of that until I started going back to church in grad school. My friends asked, and I actually pushed back against it. My best friend from Omaha, his dad is a pastor, so I didn't grow up with a dad. Me and my dad have a good relationship now, but my mom was a single mom. So
Mm-hmm.
he kind of was a really good male role model for me. So
Okay.
um,
Okay.
my friend is the one that convinced me to go to church, and he kind of had to keep asking, which now looking back, I understand why. At the time, I had my best friend from Omaha, and then another best friend that lives in Florida now. So all three of us at the time had girlfriends. And
And you guys
so,
are all the same age?
yes,
Oh
about a
wow.
year apart.
Okay.
Yeah. So my two friends kept asking me to come, and then their girlfriends, of course, it was like, I need to come. So I've always kind of been the leader or the person people come to, even in family. So in our
Mm-hmm.
little group, I was kind of the big brother, so to speak.
Okay.
Um, and so they convinced me to come, and it's funny to look back at it now. So during service, at the end of the service, they obviously did the altar call, and I had, we've all heard, the whole, oh, yeah, go. No, don't go. Yeah, go. No, don't
Mm-hmm. The
go.
battle within.
Yeah. And so my best friend was sitting next to me, and I remember asking him after. He's like, "Yeah, I can tell," because he's like, "I kind of looked, and you can tell you were kind of like going back and forth."
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting, like looking back, it kind of felt like a quote unquote outer body experience, because I
Oh wow.
literally felt like everything kind of like was a blur, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like going back and forth, back and forth. And so, mind you, this is me going back to church. So this is the first
Yeah.
time I'm there.
Right.
So I ended up getting saved and baptized the same day.
Dude,
And
yo.
so,
Wow.
That's a lot.
and so when I got baptized, it was actually kind of funny because I was like, well, I don't have clothes. It was like, oh, don't worry about that. We got some stuff in the back.
Oh man.
And so I remember, going through the whole process and everything when getting baptized. And I remember the water was so cold. And I
Mm.
remember I went down and I came up and it felt like this boulder was lifted off and I just felt warm and I just started bawling.
Wow.
And
That's
so
beautiful.
yeah, that was my baptism story. I was in grad school. And since then it just I've been trying to do the best I can, living for Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
learning as I've gone. And I moved back home, started my education career at that point. I was going to a church there, and is where I got really my big um, biblical and relationship foundation. I'm very grateful to the church I had in Omaha. Um, one thing my pastor at the time said that still sticks to me is there's a difference between relationship and religion. The first time he said that
Yeah.
when I was in service,
Mm.
I was kind of like, wait, what?
What is that?
Yeah, I was like, wait, hold up a second. Wait, what? Because I was just like, I've always grown up. I was bullied in high school until sports took off.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always kind of been like, kind of having to prove myself or having to lead by example and others just kind of have to, well, we never did this before. Oh, Ryan's doing it. I guess we can do it. And so it's always kind
Okay.
of the way trying to prove to myself like I can do this or that I'm good enough. Um, I have enough like to do this. That kind of thing has always been a battle. Still kind of a little bit to this day, but not as big as it used to be.
And now you recognize it, so it's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just kind of going through that process and once I heard that phrase and it threw me for a loop. I was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he explained it. He was like, yeah, you have people that can walk around with this family-sized Bible throwing scriptures at you all day long,
Yeah.
but are you really showing somebody love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, Jesus didn't come here for religion. He came here for a relationship to bring his kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, hold up a second. Time out. Wait a minute.
Why is
Like,
this news to me?
yeah. I was like, wait, I don't like this whole checklist of rights and wrongs, and I don't want to feel like guys up there angry at me because I keep messing up. Just
Mm-hmm.
he sees my heart. Like, wait, hold on a second. Time out now. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
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 So that whole mindset just shifted because I always felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I keep messing up. Like
Mm-hmm.
I believe I might not understand everything, but like for me, a big reason, like I probably said this to one other person, but like one of my big reasons, and I'm learning to grow within this mindset, but like one of the big reasons that, you know, I didn't honestly, when I got saved, I didn't even think about it. It just was like, I need to do this.
Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Jump on
Mm.
your feet first.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like, oh, I didn't calculate the thought process. It was, no, I need to go do this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but like some of it, like at first I was afraid to read Revelation because it scared me. Like now it doesn't scare me. Now I kind of look at it as a warning sign. Like,
True.
oh, okay.
Yep.
But it doesn't scare me
Ryan,
anymore.
let me ask you this. Isn't
Yeah.
that your first leap of faith to go ahead and go to church, to go get baptized and to be saved without knowing what is really going to happen, what is to be expected afterwards?
So it's funny you asked that. So it's my initial thought, my first quote unquote leap of faith I thought was me leaving Omaha to go to college.
Mm,
But in
Mm.
all
that is a big
reality,
leap.
really the first big leap of faith was me getting saved. It's
Yeah.
just I ended up moving for it to happen.
Yeah. Because even with school, you have an
um,
idea of what's to take place because other people have gone to school and they've moved away from home.
yeah.
So you have an idea. But
Mhm.
people who go to church and get saved, they don't really tell you
Yeah.
what's going to happen
Uh-uh.
next.
Yeah. Or you get this fake thought process like everything's gonna be okay. Oh no, it won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It won't.
Get a God bless and a pat on your back and see
Woo.
you next week kind of thing. But yeah, no, there's so much things that are unknown.
Especially when you're like for me, I'm the first to do a lot of things in my family. So no, it was not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's no elder before you that did it for to let you know this or
Mm-mm.
that. You're the first one. Phew, that's a big responsibility for a young man.
Mm.
Uh,
I'm glad you did it though, because it's changed your life and shaped the way you think about things, the way you go about things, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So now,
definitely.
now you're in graduate school. You've gone through graduate school, and when you find that you are still trying to walk with God, of course, what seems to be your biggest hurdles that kept repeating itself?
Trust.
Mm,
I always had massive trust issues with people.
yeah.
Mm.
So that goes back to part of why I believe in God and why in my head there has to be more because I don't trust people. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not that smart to just do what we're doing. We're not that smart to just poof be here. Like
Yeah, exactly.
and like for me, I was like, there's got to be more than this. Like things that have happened that don't make sense. Like I can't explain a lot of stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like there it has to be, you know. And even like this journey, the process from me getting hired at the job that I do now and me coming to where I'm at now in South Sioux City, I had no issues. Everything went smooth. Like money came out of nowhere to be able to help me with the move. Like
Mm-hmm.
family helped me move. Like it was a smooth move. I didn't have any issues moving here. Were there some the enemy tried to throw a bunch of stuff in the kitchen sink at me? Of course.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, the practical process of me getting here was smooth. Like God paved the way. Like I can't explain that. People had nothing to do with. Like, granted, did people help me? Sure,
Right.
but how everything lined up, that wasn't people.
Well,
Mm.
to continue with the things being lined up, do you mind giving a little glimpse as to your current situation and how God moved in this last few weeks?
So I'll actually say through probably months.
Okay.
So it's actually funny because me and my coworker, which is a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
we were joking about that today, and I was like, a month from sorry, next month, last year is when I interviewed for this job.
Okay.
December 20th is when I was offered the job. So it's almost a calendar year from when this process started.
Started. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I accepted a job in December. January came, and at the time, I had a girlfriend. We broke up, and there was just some spiritual bumpy stuff going on. And so January came, and there was a moment, and we joked about this, all of us, when here in Nebraska felt like we were living in Antarctica when it was like below zero for like 6 days in a row. But
Man.
it gave, it gave me, because we couldn't have school, because they had to do power blackouts because like conserving energy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it gave me time to be with God. And so we did our 21 days of prayer and fasting with the church. And I started getting literally the night before me and my ex had an issue the night before. And like for those 3 weeks during prayer and fasting, I got all kind of spiritual attacks, like pipe
Mm-hmm.
burst in the laundry room next to me, person
Mm-hmm.
randomly sleeping in the laundry room, person randomly sleeping in the hallway,
Wow.
people trying to
Man.
break into cars in our apartment, which never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Kids went into like fights, like a little more than normal, as bad as that sounds, but a little more than normal. Like all this stuff was happening in this 3 weeks, and I had told our group, I'm just like, I'm at a point to where I can't do this anymore. Like this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And during the process, God kept saying, pray for her. And I was like, no. I'm like, man, I'm like, no, because every time you keep telling me to pray for her or something specific, something keeps happening. No, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. But he was like, I need you to trust me. Just pray for her. You don't, I'm like, mm-mm. And, you know, I get talked into it, to be honest. I was like, okay. And finally kind of got to a point one night where I told one of our brothers, just like, look, I can't come to the meeting tonight. I'm not in a receiving mood. I just need time for me. And it
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
funniest thing ever because I just took some time with God and I finally woke up the next day and felt like a breath of fresh air. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like pressure and attack anymore.
Right.
And what it actually really did was I stopped talking to her for a couple months and I only talked to her as God told me to. And he, like probably that March, he kind of told me to do little small things like, how are you doing? Hi.
Yeah.
Little small stuff. And it kind
In
of
general.
rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I'm just like, I don't really want to do this. But then God was like, we've talked about it, in service a lot recently where you can't look at somebody where they're at right now. You got to look at where they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
at that time, I wasn't really seeing it. I kind of saw it, but I didn't want to deal with it because I was like, I don't want to deal with, because really in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, guy, every time you keep telling me to kind of like pray for this person, something comes. I'm not trying to deal with this no more. Um, and so throughout that process, finishing school year at my old school district, we had started a brand new middle school there. And so that was an awesome experience. And my administration was very supportive of me, accepting in a new job. It was actually
Mm-hmm.
funny because two of the administrators was kind of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. That fits you.
Yeah.
So what I currently do now is I am what's called a freshman seminar teacher. So my school district is starting what's called an academy. So
Mm-hmm.
basically within high school, we had the old traditional way of going to school, go to school 4 years. Once you graduate, go figure it out.
Right. Exactly.
Mm.
You're on your
Well,
own.
yeah. Well, this academy thought process, which is kind of national, there's other states around the country that are doing it, where we call them academies or pathways, or they call them one or the other. So
Mm-hmm.
kids will kind of pick a pathway, which kind of is like a career thought process, business, architecture, agriculture, something depending on what that school district kind of needs. And what they eventually do, they'll start taking like electives in those classes. And you can do like an internship or things like that. So the kids get exposure to those things now in high school. So that's kind
Okay.
of that's what an academy is. And so this school district is starting it for the first time. So this freshman group is the first group that gets to do it. The superintendent, this is his second year here, but the superintendent is from my former school district. So there's actually three of us from Omaha that came to the school district.
So he's giving you comfort.
Me and my, yeah. So me and our former seventh grade dean actually came to the same school. Coincidental, it wasn't planned, it just happened that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But,
Well, it's God made it
so
happen that way, right? So that way
yeah,
you'd have comfort
yeah,
in where you move.
yep.
I want
And
to ask you
so,
this. I
yeah.
want to ask you this though. Sorry. I want to know, because you mentioned about kids, and I've noticed there's a pattern of God making a way for you, and He lets you face the challenge, but because you lean on Him, you get to see the challenge through. Tell us about your recent challenge with where you actually live, as far as
Uh,
upstairs and so forth. So, briefly, you don't have to go into full details if you don't want to, but just how God
no.
worked it out for you and with you.
So when I moved here, before I moved here, God had told me, it's more of a regional thing. It's not so much me and the job.
Hmm.
And so I knew there would be potentially some things. So literally day two, day three, when I got here, I dealt with two issues. X, she lives in the same city, and neighbor. So
Hmm.
my above neighbor, they have, one or two kids. Um, but they've had nieces and nephews come over and the kids run around a whole lot and
Hmm.
like excessive.
Yeah.
And so I kind of contact, the authorities, local authorities, and also our management. And at first, they just kind of like brushed it off as like, it's just apartment noise.
Right.
Well, I started recording like the audio of how loud it was. So when they started hearing it, their tune kind of changed.
That's
And
bad.
I let the management kind of hear it, and they was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And so
It's not
they still
normal.
kind of, yeah, they were still kind of pushing back. But at the same time, it's kind of like, And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to corporate. So I talked to corporate. The next day, all of a sudden, things shifted. The management was like, she came over and she was like, I don't mind you calling corporate. I know you're frustrated. And how can we help? And I was like, well, I don't feel like you guys are doing anything. I was like, I'm understanding of the situation you guys are in.
Right.
Now, me being peaceful and calm actually has shown them God in a way because
Right.
they've told me, they was like, you're always really calm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
going through this whole process has just been a lot of headache, and the people have been very disrespectful to management. There's been a couple of times where management came over and they've heard it
Hmm.
and they got caught with having like six kids in the apartment and they only have two,
Oh
but
wow.
they're like literally running around while the manager's there. And so I'm like, okay, Ryan's actually telling the truth. He's not. I was like, no, I'm not.
How long was this
And
going on
so
for?
it's been ever since I moved here. So it's been
Oh man.
since July.
Oh man.
Man.
Oh man. But you were patient. You went through the process as you should. You
Hmm.
spoke to management, spoke to authorities, had them see it escalate to what it's supposed to be, but you never once lost your cool and crossed the line, which is
Right.
something
Yeah.
we're so proud of. Like you told us this nightmare for past few months. We're like, oh my gosh, anything but that.
Yeah, Ryan, you handled it well. You handled it well, man.
Yeah. And so the blessing that God ended up doing is I currently have a 2 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. So on Friday, I will be moving to another building, which is basically like 50 feet away, to
Amen.
a two bedroom, 2 bathroom. I get to pay the same rent. My lease stays the same.
Wow.
And management has actually hired a moving company to move all my heavy stuff.
That's what I'm talking
Wow.
about. That's what I'm talking about. Anyone hearing this knows that no landlord is helping you move anywhere unless they're evicting you. Oh my gosh, landlord helping to move. What?
Yeah.
Oh
So,
man, never hear that.
Right?
so on Thursday, as soon as I get off of work, on Thursday, when I get home, I've seen what the apartment's gonna look like because they're now finished with it. But
Mm-hmm.
once I finally agreed, because I fought it for a month, and honestly, the group kind of had to really help me kind of see past my anger because
I
I didn't want to move,
remember.
and I was like, I'm not moving. Why do I got to move? Because they don't want to. But it was not funny, but interesting. Funny how I can confirm some things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So a
yeah.
couple of weeks ago, it was like a Tuesday night. The fire alarm goes off at midnight. So long story short, it's not the neighbor above me, but above and across. They burnt something while they were cooking at midnight, and so it caused the fire alarm to go off, and we all had to evacuate.
Mm-hmm.
So police and fire came. So like I said, long story short, basically what ended up happening, that happened, but somebody left a little baby or a toddler in the apartment when everybody ran out.
Oh
So
wow.
now, uh, I'm very positive, uh, that neighbor is now on notice with management because after they had us all come back in, you hear arguing and with the Somali family,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, like they're all arguing with the police officer. And the police
Mm.
officer saying like, I'm not trying to talk to all you guys, I'm just talking to the person that, lives in the apartment.
Right.
Well, they're sitting there arguing and then the manager is kind of saying like, you guys need to go back. So this whole thing just really blew up. But I'm like sitting there and I was like, okay, guy, hear you loud and clear.
And
So
he's
before,
removing you from the situation
yeah,
completely.
so
Oh.
my frustration was valid, but like what I see now is because frustration, not guys, it's frustration because confusion because the
Yeah.
apartment that I have was a blessing because this wasn't the initial apartment I was offered. I wanted a 2 bedroom, 1 bath with a ground floor. So it was easier moving for like my family that was going to help me move.
Right.
So it worked. So now when this happened, I'm just like, okay, God, this makes no sense. You blessed me with this.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim Ross said something about when God blesses you with something, we are so we have the tendency of closing our hands as if it's ours. We need to keep
Yeah.
our hands open just in case God needs to take it. And
Mm.
I really need to let that sink in. And once I really started letting it sink in and I kind of let my emotion to kind of step away and I really had to think like, okay, God, maybe you put me here to expose an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so, like, my perspective of the whole thing changed.
I feel like you were
Um,
put in that situation also to not submit to your flesh. You submitted to him every time there
yeah,
was an issue. You didn't once break, you know, for lack of a better term, spiritual code. Like you kept on point, and you let your landlord see it, you let everyone see it, and it was just you being what you're supposed to be with obedience, and you end up getting a better blessing and a better scenario. And it's usually when it's better than what you initially thought you were supposed to be blessed with, and you go through those kind of trials and tribulations and come out even better on the other end. It's amazing,
Mm.
because
Mm.
amazing, Ryan.
the the funny thing is, like, the one that was offered, because it was a 2 bedroom, 2 bath,
Hmm.
but I wanted a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. So full circle, I'm getting a 2 bedroom, 2 bath at the 2 bedroom, 1 bath price.
There you go.
Oh
There you
man.
go. There you go. Don't question God. He knows. Best mathematician, accountant on the planet, best realtor. Don't mess with
As
him.
they as they would say for us, the math ain't mathing, but the math is mathing for me.
Yeah.
Oh man, well that's awesome to hear. I'm so glad to hear everything come full circle for you. And I know you've gone through so much that you didn't exactly touch on in this interview itself because life has so many layers. And I'm glad to see you surfing on top of all the waves. Right? Shout out to Toros. At the end, at the end of the day, you surfed well, my friend, and you are a shining example of how we need to be under pressure. Cause I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now, me, my fleshy flesh, I'd have failed that one.
Oh
Yep.
no,
Yep.
I told y'all there's some times where y'all talk me off the. You have a collect call from.
Scrounging for bail money for Ryan.
Go find the page.
Oh, my Canadian funds did not go far, my friend. You'd be there for a little while. Conversion rate is horrible. Anyways, oh, that's great. That's great.
But
Well,
Ryan, they really sorry Yusuf,
go ahead.
but
Go ahead.
Ryan, like they really saw the God in you, with your patience
Hmm.
and with your calmness. So, you know, I think like just even hearing that your landlord was, putting people together to help you move out, like that's just an
Never,
example.
never before.
Yeah, yeah,
An
'cause-
example of how God can work through us to other
yeah.
people. And
That's like
so
that's like a miracle below part in the Red Sea.
uh,
Landlord moves tenants for free. It's like what?
Yeah,
Oh
'cause
my gosh.
so Thursday when I get off of work, I'll come. She'll actually show me the actual apartment, and
Okay.
then
mm,
she's gonna come to my apartment now, and she wants to make a list because uh they got movers, but they're gonna move my heavy stuff on Friday. I can't take or I'm not going to take a day off from work, and so they're gonna do it like around 1 o'clock on
mm,
Friday. And so Thursday when I get off of work, she's gonna show me her apartment. She'll come here and she's gonna make a list of all the stuff that I
Yeah.
want moved and where to put it.
Now you're getting the
mm.
interior decorator as well. I don't want to hear no more. Ryan, I don't want to hear no more. You got interior decorator as well as movers. Come on, man.
Oh man.
The landlord's now a logistics planner. How to move things, the heavy things first. Like, whoo. Oh boy. But yeah,
Oh,
it's nice to be rewarded immediately after doing something that we're all
Yeah.
supposed to do. So I'm glad to hear
yeah,
that, man.
yeah. So it is, yeah. So also, uh, so move on Friday. They're giving me the weekend to move all my stuff.
Hmm.
Mm.
Are they gonna warn the next tenant in your old apartment? Are they gonna warn them like,
Well,
give it to someone
so
who's hard of hearing?
so the interesting thing is once this process has kind of been going, I think I can tell in a way it's a burden
Hmm.
because she has said, like, there's two people that lived before me that didn't say anything. I'm the first one to say something. And
Mm.
she kind of said, too, that, um, kind of concerned, like, move me, next person comes in and have the same issue.
They need to move her downstairs. That way the kids can walk as heavy as they want to. It's a ground floor, right?
Yeah, but they need a two-bedroom, two-bath. That's the reason why they can't move them. They're trying to, but they can't because there's not one
Potatoes,
open.
potatoes.
So,
Beggars can't be choosers.
yeah. Hey, like I said, hey, ain't my issue no more. After Friday,
Yeah,
this
it's so
ain't my
true.
issue no more.
Yeah, it ain't your issue
So
no
true.
more.
And it may just be may not even continue after this. Sometimes these things just have a way of just testing us to see exactly where we're at.
Mm.
Right? So it may, who knows? I mean, you'll never know anyways, unless you run into the next tenant and be like, how's the noise upstairs? So who knows? But this has been great, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. And I'm glad you
Yes.
get the insight because I love to hear other people's testimonies and how God moves. Because if we only reflect on our own testimonies, we think God moves slowly. He's moving chess pieces all over the world, all at
Yeah,
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that no matter what the situation is, big or small, once He's involved, it's always something to lean back on and remember that God works in our favor and we
Hmm.
just have to do our part and try and keep our nose clean, help others, follow the two best commandments, loving God with all our heart and loving ourselves and loving our neighbors as much as we love ourselves. Hold on to those two, you'll do everything right more than not. Right? So
yeah.
that is my cue to be nicer to my neighbors, I guess, because they don't cut their lawn well, man. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Ryan's giving us the blueprint.
The blueprints, right? Jeez. Jeez. Oh, is there any questions you want to ask Ryan before we wrap up?
No, you said everything, Yusef. Just the fact that, Ryan's testimony, it is an example for all of us, just to be patient on God and lean on God. So
Definitely.
It's funny. I'm used to like answering questions. I'm used to doing interviews and stuff from college and teaching career. Just like always doing interviews and stuff. So I'm just used to sitting and answering questions. My mom finds it funny, and she was like, "How do you do that?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Because she's seen me do it before, where I'll be just talking, and then all of a sudden she thinks like this business voice turns on. I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "How do you go from just talking like normal to all of a sudden switching to that?" And I was like, "Mom, you got to remember, I was trained to do this in college because of sport. Like,
Yeah.
I had to do interviews and stuff. So I was like, I was trained to do this in college. So I was like, it's something that I just know to do." And she's like,
Again,
for
God
her, she
training
just
you
kind
ahead
of
of
cracks
time.
it laughing.
Yeah. That's God working ahead of time again because He knows where He's going to place you.
Yeah.
I can go on about this forever, man.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I want to thank you again for your time and for showing up for the podcast. We do
Yep.
appreciate you, brother. We love you, and we'll be praying for you. And we know we'll be seeing you
Yes.
in one of the groups that we're all a part of. And we look
Yeah,
forward to talking to you again, Ryan. You take care of yourself,
of
man.
course.
Thank you for tuning into Baptized and Clueless. We hope today's conversation has brought you encouragement on your spiritual journey.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review.
Join us next time. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and know you're not alone. Thanks again.